Welcome to a very, very exciting morning here at Djuma, everyone. We started off looking for hyena, or rather some of the tracks from last night, found hyena tracks. We've just heard an incredible commotion. This hyena has been in a bit of a fight with a pack of wild dogs, and I'm going to leave there for now. I wanted to catch up with the wild dog. They're not far. They're making their way towards the den, the hyena den. One of the dogs, two dogs still here. One quite an old floppy-eared dog, really blocked with vegetation. We've got a dog straight through there. Welcome to Djuma. I know this is a different start to our average start, but we very seldom get the chance to have Okay, we got to get to the... Try and get around up to that. I don't think so. I think this is just a hyena wild dog altercation. Sorry, Andrew, but we'll try and get around trees and go any which way I can. Running at about 4 o'clock. Yeah. Holes, trees. Welcome to our morning drive. I'm trying to keep up with what's going on. But stay with us. We're live at Djuma Game Reserve. There's quite a commotion. I've got to think ahead where I'm going to try and see the gaps before I get to them. Keeping up with a pack of wild dogs that are around a hyena den, very close to a hyena den here on Djuma Game Reserve, and there are just animals running all over the place. Trying to get to see at least one of the individuals if I can. Be quiet to try and hear them. From coming? Is that where you know? So you could hear the Nisi from there? Okay, copy. Did you see them cross the road? We're already crossed out of Djuma. Trying to get oh, sorry. Those Ngala were left on Nyala Road South last night. Okay. The problem with an intense encounter like this is that it happens fast and it gets taken over a variety of places. The hyena den is just off to my south to the right of me, and we're just going to have to try and find something on the roads. We might have. So, my name is Mark, by the way. Andrew's clinging on at the back there with the bumps that we've been going through on camera. Nikki's back in final control. I don't know, hopefully we're going to be able to find something, but to recap, there is a commotion between a pack of wild dogs, and it seems to be quite a large pack. I don't believe I've seen this pack. I might have. But there was one dog, very distinct dog, with very floppy ears, which is unusual, because wild dogs, their ears don't flop over, their ears are always erect. Looked like the one that was running back to the bed. Yeah, it looked like it. They'd be able to defend themselves better in the den, because then it's just faces that are sticking out with very, very strong jaws. One vehicle was saying they were heading south already. The original plan was to go and have a look and see where those two male lions went, but I guess that's what happens when one plans things. Wants to know if the wild dog would kill the hyena cubs. Yes, they would. They would kill the hyena adult if they could. They were attacking her quite severely. I didn't see them attack her. I just saw her in a bush with her rump on the ground, sticking her head out. It was also probably her only defense, I think, if it was a female. She looked big and round like a female. Hard to tell hyena's sex. Let's go back towards the dam. I guess we might end up doing loops, and we will go to the hyena den and have a look. Although with this commotion, they probably got those cubs deep in the den, and of course they're not going to be coming out for any time soon. Beautiful morning, very crisp, very cool. We had a little splash of rain yesterday, which has made it quite damp, and so there's some very fresh smells this morning rather than the dust that we've experienced the last couple of weeks. We are heading into our dry season at the moment, well underway. Very still here. This is Treehouse Dam, and Let's keep moving. Oh. Right, so they have been found parallel to us. Oops, bumping. So they've left the hyena alone. They've just been picked up on the main road, which is just south of us, and we'll head around to try and catch up with them. Yeah, Mark, I'm at Treehouse Dam. I'm going to make my way around to Gary Main. Whenever two different predators encounter each other, there is always a chance of conflict. Very often, there are times when they would rather not have a confrontation because of the risk of injury, but there is always the numbers game. If there's more of one and less of the other, then there's likely to be, because of the odds, and yes, they can count to some degree, that if there's a chance to eliminate your competition, then you do so. So if it's numbers or a strength game, then sadly things can escalate very quickly, but they can also subside just as fast. So far, from what I'm hearing, there are 9 dogs. Let's try Bum Road. How far west are those Madats on Gary Main? Okay, copy. They might already have come past Spum Road. It does become emotional, especially since we know these hyena, we know that there are youngsters at the den, and we have become attached to them. And the emotional issue is charged further by the fact that wild dogs are an endangered species, and anything they do and can do to survive is, well, it's just in their favor. I would imagine that the hyena defended the den pretty well, because it didn't seem that the dogs paid any attention to the den. It seems they mostly cornered one individual.
Do you think they would eat the hyena?
I don't know. Interesting. Strangely enough, there have been a couple of photographs recently of lion killing hyena. There was one, I think, from Lion Sands, if I'm not mistaken. I've got something ticking in the engine now. And then there was also, I think, a picture of a lion killing a hyena on one of the cams. I know Chris monitors that cam, I think. Chris the Rogue. and perhaps any through the stations copy. How's it? Morning. I've got a Colombian Dutch heading towards Triple M Gary main corner. This is the economical run. There's the floppy-eared older dog up front. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's trying to bite the tire. Come, puppy dog. Oh, it's half-tail, that's who it is. So this is the half-tail pack. Okay, my Dutch are now heading up Triple M. Okay, copied. There are 3 vehicles in the sighting at the moment. Looks like it's got a little bit of a... Our station's my Dutch on Triple M heading north. Looks like they might be turning back into Juma. At the moment this is on through the channel. They're rolling in something. It could be the Vernonia that they're rolling in. It could be that's what they're smelling. Unless there is some buffalo dung or some dung. Something's hissing. And 11. I'm seeing about 12 of them now. This pack that's known as half-tail. Okay, just watch it with the vehicles in frame. I know it's difficult to fit. Killed recently. And I think that, folks, is going to be the last we see of them for now. Morning, come in. Morning. Am I still in the sighting? Am I still in the sighting?
You are.
Thanks. Okay, I'll just be a couple of more minutes and I'll give you a gap. Okay, we are now on Arathusa, and so there are going to be a number of lodges and safari vehicles that would like to view the dogs. Now you see, wild dogs are very, very special because being a somewhat endangered species, well, not somewhat, they are threatened, they are endangered. They're on the IUCN list, the red data. But a beautiful opportunity to be able to follow a pack of dogs for a little while with this beautiful light. Not get too far ahead of the dogs, and I'm also going to have to allow the vehicle behind me a little bit of a chance. Okay, seems to be Bye. Mona, you want to take over that block? I'll let's make space for others. Yeah, go ahead, John.
Bob, thank you. Morning.
Have fun. How you doing?
Epic.
It is. Beautiful light for it too.
Yeah, I know.
Bye-bye. Watch for the rain. So, a nice, exciting to the start. They're probably going to get to Arathusa waterhole, so I'd advise people to keep an eye open for that. Hold on a sec. Mark, your go. Breaking up. Can someone relay? I'm only copying about 1 out of 5. Okay, that would be a good thing. Thank you. I'm behind you then. So we get to stay a little bit. Guys are being very courteous. I also do need to just check on something in the engine once we get through this very exciting morning. Thank you, Mona. tell me. It's a leapfrog because they're running along a road that is quite narrow. We've got quite heavy combretum, which is bush willow. All the yellow that we're seeing is mostly the bush willow, and there's a little bit of round leaf teak as well. Now they seem to be slowing down. That's quite an old dog, this half-tail. It's known as the half-tail pack. You can see him standing there now. He's just lost a little bit of the tip of his tail. Go ahead. Sam, morning Sam, in Ohio, of all places. Why would the dog's ears go floppy? Probably an age thing. Cartilage. Morning all. So, heading north now. Why would the dog's ears go floppy? There, as you can see, there's more of a trot now. They're picking up speed now. Yeah, the dog's right up front and now taken on a much faster pace, and these dogs at the back will maintain the sort of quite an economical trot energy wise, and possibly pick up speed as the dogs up front start tiring if it goes that far. And see every now and then one of the other dogs up front stopping to wait. This looks like a fairly old individual at the back. Go ahead, Jim. Go ahead, Jim. I wonder, they're probably smelling the remains, since they are such perfect olfactory creatures. They know how to do things with their noses. So they can probably smell. You see, lion, they made a kill here. There would be a lot of lion dung around as well. So there's caution on the part of the dogs. Very lucky that they must have turned around, and the vehicles that were with them must have carried on heading in the direction that they were heading, not knowing that they must have turned around and gone off in a different direction. Quite wary, because there's clearly scent and smells of the lion that were here. They've been trotting for quite a while now, so no doubt they are thirsty. Alright, we've got to go, I'm afraid. We are not supposed to be here. Okay, I'm out. Okay, I'm out. Sorry, guys. It officially left the sighting, and unfortunately we had left the sighting, but then we found them again, so we just had to wait until. I know it is a really beautiful sight. I'm hoping that maybe you'll be able to see them from the camera, but I guess I can in the fourth vehicle here, keeping an eye on it for the other guys to get you. I know it's sad. We've had a very, very good time with them, and a very long time with them. It's sad that they're now in this most beautiful of places, drinking water, great camera opportunities. But these are the rules that we all have to follow, so that we don't stress the animals out too much. And excuse me, I'm just talking to. Sorry, Nikki, go ahead. Okay, unfortunately I'm not getting you at all. I'll wait until I'm up on towards the airstrip, and then maybe we'll get better reception there. Sure. Let's go and see the airstrip. Although, while I'm close to the lodge, I need to check something in the engine quickly. Head up here. Stop. Every time I switch off, there's a hissing sound. I need to make sure that we're not going to overheat or anything. Just need to be far enough away from other vehicle traffic. Oh, wait, hang on a sec. There was a message that there's a plane landing pretty soon. Can't really go into the airstrip right now. What time is that plane coming in on Arathusa? Sure. Excuse me. Time to check under the hood. No, not allowed to put him on camera. He hasn't signed the release. It stops as soon as I get here. Not seeing anything. No immediate danger. I've got to make sure that we're not going to be in. Yeah, we're pretty close. It's going to be a plane landing in about the next 5 minutes, so we can't get to the airstrip right now. We'll do something else. Maybe we'll do a loop around while we're here at Arathusa. Up to Central Road. But I think it's a leaf or a stick that's touching the pulley. There's a pulley, one of the V-belt pulleys. Ooh. Dwarf mongoose in a dead log. That's quite cute. I wanted that one to pop its head out of the hole again. Dwarf mongoose. Looking a little bit fluffy this morning because it's a little bit cool. There's a head popping out of a hole. Heads and further up as well, Andrew. On that big, oh, it's gone in. That bigger knot. This is quite cute. And these little children popping their heads off. Okay. Reading a bit better now, thanks. Hello Maggie in Vancouver. Maggie is asking if the wild dog are looking for food or they're moving from one place to another. It's a little bit of both, Maggie, that they're multitasking at the moment. That is what they do. They move from one place to another, and when something, sorry, and I'm going to move just a little bit so we've got a slightly better angle for them. Really quite a cute sighting, this a little bit more sedate from the excitement of earlier this morning. They pick up a trot, they move from one place to another, and in the process they will hunt anything that they come across if they have the opportunity to. It's only really once they've had something to eat that they're likely to relax and lie down to digest food for a while. Nancy, morning Nancy. Nancy's in Reno wanting to know, the dog left behind at the back of the pack, will it eventually be left behind? No, Nancy, not likely. They're a very tight-knit pack, and they will eventually wait for it. When they're moving very, very fast, it's when they're chasing something, and then they'll slow down, and you'll see sometimes where they mill about and they roll in dung and they sniff about, and that's normally so that the pack can regroup. A lot of the time while they're moving, we're moving, and we don't hear the subtle sounds, the subtle communication sounds between the individuals that keep them in contact with each other and let them know what's going on. Susanna wants to know how fast they can run. Do I have any idea how fast they can run? I don't, Susanna. I don't really, it's hard to clock them. But probably around 50 kilometers an hour. I mean, but that's at the fast trot. They're rather fast sprint. They generally have a very economical trot that doesn't take up too much energy or doesn't consume too much energy. But it's I've never been one for numbers when it comes to animals. Cars have speedometers, so you can tell how fast cars are going. But when it comes to animals, it's a difficult thing to. There are always obstacles in the way. I guess if you had to have them on a racetrack running in a straight line, probably not as fast as a greyhound, but still they small, lithe, skinny dogs, and they can pick up quite a bit of speed. Kathy, I think, in Tennessee. Would Wild Dog take on kudu or nyala or impala? What is their preferred? They will take on anything up to a wildebeest, Kathy. Any animal is up to the size of a wildebeest, including kudu. They're known to take on zebra, although I have to be honest, I've seen more zebra chasing wild dog than wild dog chasing zebra. Zebra don't tolerate wild dog because wild dog will go for the foal. Gorgeous little animals, these mongoose in the morning. Not getting a very clear signal, but Virginia is asking if they're nomads. They are pretty much, but they do have a home range. They're not so nomadic that they will range over, say, the whole of the Kruger National Park, but they do range over a very, very large area that I guess you could say for a dog becomes their territory, because they're constantly marking and they're constantly defecating, and you very seldom get two dogs in any one area. You do get overlaps of home ranges. I've been very lucky in the past to have two, sometimes three different packs overlapping, and even here we get this pack, which is the half-tail pack, and then there is of course another smaller pack of I think 5 or 6. Sorry, I was laughing. This one little mongoose, the one now that's just popped its head down that hole, it was coming out, and then it decided it needed to reverse back in, but it couldn't get a grip because of the smooth wood. Let's see if it does it again. Its feet were slipping, its hands. Life expectancy of a wild dog. That's from India, from Raja in India. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, Raja. Life expectancy of a wild dog, probably around 10 years old. They're going to come out again and going to slip again. Those claws. Now you have a dog in India which are very similar to, or it's the Indian equivalent of our wild dog. What are they called? Question for Raja in India. And where do you find them? And are they as threatened as our African hunting dogs? They're like little bear claws, those feet of them, the paws of the mongoose. Okay, let's move along. The family is very vigilant before they go out foraging for the day. Elizabeth wants to know if these mongoose really eat snakes. Yes, they do, Elizabeth. These are the dwarf mongoose. They'll eat smallish snakes. They'll mob a larger snake and possibly collectively kill a larger snake. And of course the other species of mongoose will do too. We get the banded mongoose. They are known to take on even cobras, puff adders. Did you ever film the meerkats with snakes?
Really have many instances. A lot of the time they just ignore the snakes.
Yeah?
Once they identify it, then they just ignore it. They don't actively go and try to kill them.
That's interesting. I like a little kudu ball. Young kudu ball. Those wild dogs are now way off of the property. Up there, young kudu. There's one of the mums. She might be better on this side, Andrew. This is the little boy that ran across the road. Oh, very shy. Just going to stand behind a gori bush. Sure. I think what we'll do is make our way around past Arathusa Dam again. Maybe there's some birds to see, or hippos or something. Maybe some animals coming down, and then make our way back to Djuma, back to Gari, and see what we can find back home. But I don't really want to go the other way, because there was a plane supposed to land. Going the other way would have to, we might end up sitting and waiting for a plane to land and then take off again, because we would have to come along the airstrip any other way. Let's go this way, take the next road. The radio has calmed down considerably since the wild dog have left. I've been looking into the two suns, both one in the sky and the one in the water. Not much there. It'll take a while, but we can head out to the hyena den on our way back home this morning. Might be late already with the sun out and a lovely warm day ahead of us. They might be still in the den, or might have gone back in the den. They might not have even come out. The incident with the wild dog. Now, the reason why, also, another thing I forgot to mention was earlier on this morning, the dog down, almost crossing the road just above us, coming down towards this road. The vehicles of the wild dog sighting passed vehicles that were in. There wasn't a leopard sighting, but there were a couple of vehicles that were out here tracking the big male leopard that lives here. His name is Tingana. And there was one moment that the wild dog went off into the bush after something. I think Cedric was hoping that the wild dog would tree the leopard. But it seems they might have, with all the activity of the wild dog, obliterated leopard tracks. Of course, that means that it's hard for them to now pick up on where they last had the leopard. Well, his tracks at any rate. He might be somewhere in here. Tingana, big male. Gula's rival. Think we come in? How's it, guys? Good, no luck.
Nothing's gone.
No mkonzo.
No, I mean, that leopard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gone. We don't see where it's already disappeared.
From all the cars and the Madach.
Huh?
From the movers and the Madach moving.
Actually, we find them there, but the other direction was coming this way.
Yeah.
So I hope he already crossed before my Dutch came in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I want to try on next road.
Alright,
Let's see if nothing tracks that side.
Good
if
luck.
Nothing.
There's nothing you can do.
No, we'll leave it.
Good luck. There's the plane now. A Pilatus. Just enjoy flying in a Pilatus. Quite a fast little turboprop. PC-12. I think it might have just taken off again. We might have missed landing. Oops. Did you have it?
For a split second, yeah.
Elephants, where are you? I didn't promise. I didn't say the word promise. I might have said the word try, or I might have used it in a sentence, I'll try my best. I might have also said, I hope so. any radar hit gets, then I can promise. Sounds like I might not have radio comms with Nikki, but I've also got so much now on the radio. I think we should be able to turn that down now. Aha, there it comes. Another polite, it looks like a king air. That's a king air. So that's quite a fancy little plane. We're going to 404. Sorry, okay, I've got you back again. Back on top of the ridge. He's doing a couple of loops. I wonder maybe there's... I know, I remember in all the places I've lived outside of South Africa, always had to... The only way people get in and out is by plane. Yeah, of course it's different. There are other alternatives to small planes. But up in East Africa and in Zambia and Botswana, the only way in and out of camps is with small planes and Cessna 206s and 182s and 172s. Used to be the norm. Nowadays they use a Caravan, a bigger, for me it's a big plane, it's about a 14, 16 seater. But there's always a battle to get animals off of the airstrip. I just saw something moving in that tree. Here in Matandaluka Pan. Might have been mistaken. Must have been. I guess now that we're here, we'll carry on this road. Sometimes when there's a noise, a strange noise, or the sound of an airplane landing, you might have animals that are on the edge of an airstrip, and when they hear something they want to come out onto the open to see what it is. And you have planes that have to circle a few times while rangers or staff get animals off of the airstrip. Interesting plane. So might be some giraffe in our near future. If the tracks on the road are anything to go by, not very fresh. They do seem to be heading northeast. hyena tracks. This round thing that you can see is a fire pit, because sometimes the lodge brings guests out and they set up a table here for what we call a bush dinner or a bush braai. Braai is the South African term for a barbecue, and it's a South African pastime. It's a national sport. In fact, lots of competitions, braai competitions, so you can make the best sausages or the best pots. But yes, enough about braais, or more about braais some other time. But it's a lovely spot, lovely idea that the lodge does for its guests. If you can imagine, instead of you go out on a game drive in the evening, and instead of coming back to the lodge in the evening, suddenly you find yourself in a clearing with hurricane lamps and a fire burning and a table set up and a mini bar, and you have dinner al fresco out in the open under the stars with lion roaring. Beautiful open patches out here. Hippo tracks, quite far from Arathusa Dam, but the hippo tracks here, heading back that way, probably about a mile away. I'm not seeing any more of those giraffe tracks though. Unfortunately, it also sounded like when we were coming across from the other side meaning Djuma, we changed channels on the radio. There was some talk about 2 male lions. The timbers that we had yesterday, they must have made their way south again overnight, because they are back in the south of Djuma again. Arathusa, I'm crossing back to the east. Enjoy. Good luck with Tingana. Reading you 4 out of 5. So this is now the boundary road between us and Arathusa, between Djuma and Arathusa. So we're heading back into Djuma now. Peggy wants to know if the dogs would fight with another pack if they were to meet up with another pack. Most likely they would, Peggy. Most likely. Mostly because you have an alpha pair in each pack, and of course two alphas wouldn't see eye to eye. Heading down. Got a sandy patch. Nobody's driven on this road since the rain yesterday, so this would have wonderfully new tracks if there were any new tracks to be seen. I don't think I've been up this way since I came back, because we've been having some really amazing sightings that have kept me very busy for most of the drive. So I actually haven't done very much driving around. He tells me that there are quite a few people that have mentioned some concern about the hyena den. My intention is to go past the hyena den, as well as I'm sure this evening maybe to be there. Oh, there's an Impala ram. Toileting ram. Give him a bit of privacy for one. Not giving him any privacy. We need to start paying more attention to Impala rams of late, because of the rutting season about to begin. My guess is that they are starting to select their little rutting spots. Morning, Blair. Oh, it's afternoon. Blair, I think, is in New Zealand, if I'm not mistaken. Matimbas, are they still around? Blair wants to know. Unfortunately, Blair, they did cross. We heard them moving south last night after dinner. They were roaring further south. I think they were last seen around Nyala Road south, so they would move south of Buffelshoek Dam. My intention this morning when we left, because we left quite early, as you noticed when we started this morning, we were already well around near Treehouse Dam when heading down south to look for those tracks for those two male lions, and we heard a commotion. To me it sounded like it was coming from the dam. Thank you. Excuse me. As we moved around towards the dam, it's when we stumbled across things. When I first heard the commotion, I thought it might have been that the lion and the hyena were having a bit of an argument, that maybe the lion had caught something and the hyena were giving them a hard time. But it turned out the tables had turned on the hyena this time. It was the wild dog giving them a hard time. And judging by the hyena, it looks like the hyena came off second best. Now you look at the size of the hyena, twice the size of a wild dog. But the wild dog just had numbers on their side. They were able to harass the hyena to such an extent. The way they do it is they torment the hyena from the front, and then every now and then a dog will go in at the back and nip it on the rump, and it's a hard and sharp bite. And so the hyena will whip around to the dog that's biting it on the rump, exposing its rump to the ones that were hassling it from the front. I've seen hyena do exactly the same thing to lion and to leopard. So it's not so much a case of it getting a bit of their own medicine. It's just that that's what they do. There is a rivalry that exists because they all have to compete for the same food source. They all have to live together, but they all have to compete. Now the competition is limited, or the competition is not as intense because they do have different hunting methods. They have different ways of bringing down animals, and so that in itself limits competition a little bit because they tend to prefer different habitats even within the same territories. But it doesn't mean they don't come into contact with each other. We came out of Karula quite far to the west, the northwest. We're going to make our way back down towards a bit of the south, because we will go past the hyena den. I know people have asked, and I would like to go and see what there is there. Or rather, see if they're out. Any sign of them. Possible they might even move the den after this. Although it's not likely that the dogs are going to be back very soon. Right, some elephant tracks. Young elephant playing. Hello, Judy in California. How long will they hide? How long will it be before? Absolutely no way of knowing, Judy. Could be they might. There's no way of knowing the answer to that. Judy's referring to the fact we don't really know whether they even did go in and hide. I was only speculating there. possibly if the wild dogs did go past. Okay, this is where the elephant came from and they went that way. If they did go past the den, the one hyena that was injured, that had a few bite marks. I don't want to use the word injured. You know, if we had a camera on the hyena den and we had to watch an incident like this, excuse me one moment. Now those Madats are far west. They've already crossed over to the western side of Safari and down. Yeah, I'll just come back on. I'm sort of sandy patch at the moment, following up on some in Dorven Konzo. Ephraim, where's Ephraim got in law? Vessels of copy, thanks and for. Did either of you guys check on PC Kaya this morning? Okay, copy that, thanks. I'm just checking to see if anybody did go there. And as I was saying, we could have a camera on the den, and one day you could have an incident where they might hide in the den and come out 5 minutes later, and there might be another day that there's a leopard. There's a leopard. And another day it might be 5 hours before they come out again. She's moved pretty far. I think this is Our Lady of the Night. She's looking at something. I can hear a francolin chirping. Oh, it's this one here. It's francolin right in front of us. You're gonna go and sleep in the shade there, girl. That's quite a thick patch that she's gone in. Quite deep, going onto that termite mound. If we could just get around there. Alright, she's climbing. There's a scotia, a boobean on a termite mound, and she's climbed up onto that termite mound, coming down the side now. She's doing pretty much what she was doing yesterday, using no advantage point that she can, wholly making sure that there might be something up ahead for her to go into hunt mode. Okay, I've got to move. Hasn't got a mud path, so we got an ingress on Weir's access, between Weir's access and Triple M, closer to the gate. Karula. Negative, more or less southwest. Yeah, if I can. I've got to get rid of the stick. Welcome to Juma, everyone. Welcome to our morning safari. A most wonderful morning it is this morning, with a lot of excitement, and I don't think that excitement is over just yet. Oh gosh, look at her. On an elephant path that heads straight from Sydney's Dam, cuts through this corner of Juma. And hopefully she'll keep going a little bit further south, because if she crosses Triple M, we're not going to be able to follow her. We're starting to get blocked by a lot of guarri bush at the moment. Okay, try and get around this patch. Very dense. I think I've been through here before. Walking parallel. It's coming into a much more open patch now if we can get through. Any stations near Triple M? Not copying, but if there's anyone near Triple M North, probably not far from the gate. I've got Karula making her way slowly towards Triple M. Okay, come in. Yeah, we're getting close to Triple M now. Karula. Okay, copy. She is moving south. Hey, Nikki. Yeah, affirmative. I'm about 20, maybe 50 yards in. Hopefully I'll be able to hear you, or you might see me. Climb up on that piece of wood, girl. Underneath it. She's heading towards where we saw that Impala ram earlier. Franklin now. Shouting before she gets anywhere. Go. Lucky one wanting to know if she has cubs, or when she has cubs, at what age are we allowed to view them? That's a debate that I think is ongoing actually. There are some lodges that when they know about a leopard having given birth, they actually will leave an empty vehicle close to the den so that the cubs can get used to the vehicle. We're going to be much too far. Hang on a sec. Got to talk on the radio. She's turning east again, so I'm now quite far off of Triple M. Probably about 200 meters north of Karula Plain, maybe a bit more. She has the ability to hide her cubs for the first couple of weeks. We've never really seen them very, very young. In fact, I think that when we were doing this, we were following her one morning, and we just ended up, we didn't know, but suddenly we were there, and so was her cub. So it wasn't a case of being able to avoid the circumstances. And then of course in an instant the drama happened. Okay, we're getting into, hopefully we'll still be able to keep up with her. It's getting rather thick. might be watching something again. Nope. Yeah, which station coming to Karula? Yeah, I'm probably due east of One-Eyed Pan. I'm at the moment static again, rather fixed Latin. Is that young Mr. Danhauser? Can I mark your go? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. About 100, 120, maybe 150 in east of Triple M. No, she turned south and even a little bit east again, so I'm in a pretty thick block. Yeah, I'm starting to think it's not. I still haven't. A minute there, I thought it was. Looks like come on.
Doesn't
Keep
look
your
like
head.
there's the WildEarth.
She's been frowning. Let's see. I don't even know if we're going to be able to follow her anymore. Maybe it's shadow. I didn't get that. Please repeat. gone into this drainage line. I can see it there, but I'm wondering if it's not maybe shadow. Deep in there, very deep and very shady, very pretty, but very much impenetrable. I think we've gone into a drainage line I can't follow. I don't think we're going to find her again. It's a really beautiful and deep drainage line. And unless she's still moving south, we might be able to pick her up on the other side of it. She's still quite far from the Karula plains or those open areas. Oh, thanks. I've lost visual of this Ingwe. I'm going to try and make my way out onto Triple M. You're welcome. Say I can hold on to her. Okay, these two just pop up again after I open them, by the way. Saplings. Try not to get them to the tires. The road is like 20 yards ahead of us. We'll just get through to it. Go ahead. She went into a drainage line pretty thick. I'm trying to find my way out. I can see Triple M from where I am. I just can't find my way onto it. I can, yes. Kind of got a vignette effect on the, yeah, you can see that, a nice smoky effect, hazy effect. Yeah, that looks better. Okie dokie. Sorry, Nikki, you're breaking up. I'm not stopping anything. Okay. People are not sure which leopard it is. And okay, out on Triple M, I'm leaving a Guari branch, but she's making her way into the Skovanin that now crosses south of where I've left the branch. Could be just a few feet in here. We're going to keep an eye out. There's a good chance that she might have taken to ground. Just the nonchalance was quite incredible. The way she was just walking like she was Karula. But then when she was licking herself, when she was cleaning, for a brief second there, I got to look at her forehead, and I really don't think it is. Now, it could be shadow. I need to look a little more carefully at shadows. Starting to think this isn't Karula. I need to look more. I don't see shadow that often to recognize her straight off the bat like that. How's it? Good. Thanks, Ron. For morning all for my Dutch this morning. Yeah.
Did you see that one PC on his backside? Did they attack him?
Yeah, we got there as they must have just split up, and I was trying to get in to see the Dutch, and then I didn't even see that Missy was sitting in a bush with its back right in the bush.
I said there's just a bruise that scratched it.
No. I think they must have made a go for it, and it backed up into the bush to just keep its head out.
Made a lot of noise, huh?
And then it made a gap for the den, so I still want to go past the den to see what's happened there, because the dogs were also running there at one time. She was about 150 yards in.
Yeah.
When I left her, maybe 100 to 150. It's hard to tell because to get out of there was hard. She was more or less moving south, but coming this way a little bit. And at first I thought Karula because I could only see from the back.
Yeah.
But now I'm starting to think it might be maybe shadow or don't know who else there could be.
Sure.
So she's probably going to come out here somewhere now. Not now, or anytime.
We'll just stay a bit here and see
if
I can
this drainage line, there's a nice, very deep spot in there. She might also just go lie down there.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways.
Oh, but we're here for the week. We'll keep you guys updated.
Cool. Yeah. Enjoy. Pass it in if I need it.
Bye, dankie man. Sien julle.
No one really sending in any answers as to who she was. A brief glimpse of a leopard. I don't know if I've got a shot of her. I must just check on that. I did, but I don't think it's going to show anything. One snap, but she had already stood up and she was already heading away from the camera when the shutter went off. I've still got to learn how to pick this up and get it out and get it ready quicker than I have been. I need to be faster on the draw. So, hello again. Hi again. So she went into that drainage line.
Yeah.
There where Ruan is, that's where I came out. So it was due east of that. But
she just came into the drainage and you think maybe going to come along this
drainage?
drainage?
Yeah, I think so. And I don't think it's Karula.
Oh, okay.
So where's Shadow been lately?
She's at the Kayas. She's at the Lux Kayas.
Oh,
yeah,
it's not her.
She can't even get in there. Yeah, so it's just too scared to tell the guys because it's on Bertie thickets of night there.
Yeah, well this was thick.
Alright, alright.
If you walk it, you'll see her.
Yeah.
And she was reliable. She was cleaning next to me for a bit. Maybe it was Karula. I mean, I've known her for
Yeah, you should know.
8 years now, so.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, because it was funny, yesterday I got on Moya on Triple M South. I haven't seen her for a year now.
Who?
Moya. It was another female called Nialeti that she had, like those two males and a young female. And Nialeti pegged and all that. But that was all along those boundary. I've never seen her for a year and a half till yesterday afternoon. She was just coming up the road, Triple M South. I was like, hey.
She was coming probably from Sydney's Dam. You know all those early tracks that run up to Sydney's Dam from Weir's Access?
Yeah.
She was coming down past those little pans on the side of Weir's Access. So it's pretty much a steady southwest.
Alright, so we're going to take a look here, see if we can
Like I said.
Alright, Mark, see you later.
Enjoy. Bye. At least I'm sure there are screen caps, and we ought to be lucky enough to be able to identify her from screen caps. Pity we had to leave her be. Yes, we could, since there are cars on this road, there's going to be dust. Let's go up the power line. We'll go back up to Sandy Patch. Maybe we'll be lucky. Because now I know more or less, following her through the bush so much, and when we're not going in a straight line, hard to keep track of things, of the amount of distance you've covered, because I'm keeping my eye on the cat, and I'm also keeping my eye on the maze that I have to follow. Well, not follow, but there isn't a clear path to drive through off-road, and you've got to be thinking ahead where you can get around bushes in the general direction that your animal is moving in. She's this glowy stuff here. Maybe I don't know if we should try it there. I think maybe we should, rather than go all the way up to the road. Since we've got fairly open ground here, and we only have to go a couple hundred yards. Also the time that it's taken, if she was still moving and she was continuing in a southerly direction, we might pick up the sound of a squirrel or francolin or something. Here, kitty, kitty. And we're stuck again. It's either good or bad. good because, and zebra, because she hasn't come this way yet. Animals are not too stressed yet. No alarm calls. Be interesting if she manages to use that drainage line cover to look out for that little flash of white at the tail of the impala. We're not going to disturb these impala. And there's warthog. I see there was a warthog there as well. Warthog, impala, zebra. If this cat is on the move on the prowl, there's cat food here. There's potential prey. Taker running away. That was from us. Funny enough, this was also the direction those elephants were heading in. Now we are almost parallel to where we left her coming into this drainage line. But of course, trying to find the little cat in this is not going to be easy. Oh. think that's where that dent there, that's where she was. Now we're stuck. Okay. Oh, Franklin's chirping. Yeah. Birds are shouting. Just heard them. Not only the Franklin, but a magpie shrike as well. Sorry, Andrew. Darling, where's the cat, darling? Way too deep. Just ahead of us, we're in the thick and woody forest. Where this Franklin is shouting. My guess is that's where she is. Dead one. What's that? Oh, that one, yeah. You don't want to knock that. It's quite heavy. Another one on this side, these bent over knobs horn. We also, Mickey's, I'm going to try. Mickey's saying that there's some people that are still requesting to go to the hyena den. We are somewhat distant from there. It is getting quite hot now. And I've got to get out of here first. Have to give up on the leopard and go and see the hyena then. Yep. Unless we maybe find she's already walked through here and she's on the way. to you in back. A nice try, I guess. Sorry Nicky, I didn't copy anything there. Just give me a moment to get out of this thick stuff and get back onto the road. Thanks. Okay. Nicky, come in. Try again with the last message, please. Oh, sorry, Piglet. I knew there was a piglet here, but he's not a piglet anymore. He's a big, big warthog. Gosh, he's huge. And I was looking for him, and there he was, lying in the shade. So, some people on Twitter saying that still a little bit of confusion, but some people saying they think it was Karula. There's a good chance, and she's not far from here, where those Franklin were calling. I'm sure that she might make a play for one of these impala. But let's go excuse ourselves through this little impala roadblock. Excuse me, children. Gosh, he's a big pig. Massive. Got the size of his neck. If he'll only just stop. Sorry, children. Come along, cross the road. What did you do with your zebra friends that were here 2 minutes ago? I think the zebra carried on south along the road, looks like. There they are. Hello, horses. Oh, I shouldn't have shouted. Sorry, zebra. Stallion. And a mare. And another pretty mare. Young stallion, young colt. In the front. I don't think they'll wander far from the impala, and neither will the warthog. Safety in numbers. Maybe spend more time with zebra later. But for now, we try and use this time to go and check up on what was started this morning. Try and maybe some closure to the morning's activity. Still smoke in the east, condensing into cloud. Oh, that was a nice lizard. Probably a yellow-throated plated lizard. One of these days we'll be able to snap a picture of one. They're very shy lizards. Most lizards are very shy, especially since it's a very large vehicle moving through or moving along the road. Fairly fresh elephant activity. Question is, when does the impala rut start and how long does it last for? That comes from Chris in South Australia. Hello Chris. Good afternoon to you, Chris. It starts round about now, going into the end of April, and it'll last until about the end of May, into June maybe. Babblers. If that was Karula, she would have walked quite a distance from Buffelshoek Dam, which means that she would have probably walked all the way along Buffelshoek Cutline. One thing we can do is this afternoon, if we're on Buffelshoek Cutline going to look for elephants or other things, one thing we can do is have a look for her tracks on Buffelshoek Cutline, and that will tell us if there are tracks of the cat coming all the way from Buffelshoek Dam along Buffelshoek Cutline. My guess is that she... oh, interesting. That's the cat going up Zoe's Road, but was driven over there's a car that went over them. Somebody drove Zoe's Road this morning, but there was a fairly fresh leopard track from last night going up Zoe's Road. It might help us to finalize that question. If there are tracks that come from Buffelshoek Dam. Thank you, Suzanne. Suzanne put up a comparison picture of the leopard, well, Karula and this leopard, and it does seem, Nikki's saying it does appear to be Karula. I jumped to the conclusion purely based on space and time and behavior, and she barely glanced in our direction. She is that way sometimes, but for a moment when she was sitting down next to us, and maybe it was because she was frowning, I noticed she did frown. She looked up and frowned, maybe changed the markings on her forehead a little bit into parallel lines rather than the wow. Well, there's a good chance she'll come out onto Sandy Patch South and either head towards Impala Plains or cross up towards Zoe's Road. At least she doesn't seem to be crossing over Triple M much anymore onto her daughter's side of things where Shadow is. Of course, you could also take a screenshot of her flank, since we had her from the side, but of course you can't match the right side to the left side because they're not symmetrical, they're not the same, they're not mirror images of each other. So if you look comparing the left side, you could compare the hip, you could compare the shoulder, or if you manage to get a screenshot of the line of spots, rosettes down her back, base of the tail, not always the face or always the forehead. And sometimes the markings on the forehead can look fairly similar, but you've got to look at other markings, maybe the eyes, maybe the markings around the collar, that lovely black line, that necklace or collar that leopards have, that black line around the throat. The interesting thing about seeing that leopard, by the way, was if we hadn't have got there at exactly that time, if we were a couple of minutes early or a couple of minutes, even seconds later than that, she would have crossed the road and we would never have seen her. We'd never even known she was there. And it not only highlights how often we miss things because our timing is just off, or because we're just on the wrong road or something. But it is one of the only times we are able to catch up with leopard, is when we just accidentally bump into them on a road, as we've done in the last 2 days, rather than actually following the track. Mostly hyena tracks on the road to the den. I guess I'd have to look a lot closer to see if I could spot any dog tracks amongst these hyena tracks. Hyena tracks from just after the rain, when the ground was a little bit damp, and from this morning when it's drying out a bit. No sign of any life here, mostly because they're probably asleep. They're probably in the den now. I would imagine that by now they've forgotten about the incident and it's all over and done with, and now they've just gone back to their normal habits of sleeping during the day. It is getting quite warm. I'm not seeing anybody sleeping out of the den, but that's not really surprising. Sandy wants to know. Sandy, hello Sandy from Texas. I think the hyena that was bitten by the dogs, I think it was one of the mothers. I can't tell you that. I have no idea, Sandy. I had a brief visual of it. That could be. She could have been. We will only know when we see. We'll come back in the next. Well, we can see this evening. Maybe just before the end of drive, because it's maybe the time that they're going to start waking up and the cubs will probably come out again. And tomorrow morning. We can check up in the next couple of days and we can see. She's not. I don't think she's wounded badly. She's got a few bite marks. They bite each other in the same way. They're not life-threatening injuries. And we shall see. It is also a little bit late in the day to come to the den. I haven't really known the den to be active this late in the morning, unless it's, oh, I don't know, maybe it has, but not today. Whether it's from the sun or whether it's from the dogs earlier, I don't think the dogs would have that long-lasting an effect unless they were still in the area. But the adults, most certainly, if the adults were out, it would be also, they wouldn't really mind. All we can do is keep on checking. They might also move the den after this incident. I can't say that it's a definite that they will. As I say, they might choose. They might, because it's the dogs and the dogs are moved off. It might sort of just be like water on a duck's back. There was an altercation, something that happens in their lives. They have altercations with lion and leopard, and probably other wild dog as well, where they have got the upper hand. So it's not something that they're going to dwell on. It's not something that they is going to result in them shivering in fear in their den. They move on. Life goes on. Interesting morning. I'm glad you joined us. Those of you who are on your Sunday night, late night Sunday night, and of course a lot of you are already well into your Monday, Australia and New Zealand. Now there was also, I might think of it, somebody sent us a message early this morning saying that there were hippo arriving at the dam at a particular time during the night. I wanted to say thank you to that, but then as soon as we opened up with all the wild dog and hyena, it kind of slipped my mind completely, because I wanted to mention that we do have viewers who, when we're not on safari, when we're not doing the live drive, there are people that watch the cameras. That's right, it was John Q, I think. And thanks, Nikki. And of course, during the time that we're not on drive, we don't get to see the waterhole. We don't get to see the waterhole cam either. And so we do depend on the viewers who are watching the cameras, both at Arathusa and here at Djuma. I know we do sometimes get feedback from what's happening at Pete's Pond or at other cameras elsewhere, but just if you ask us, we can let you know what sort of distance you're talking about between the various cameras. So from that point of view, it's always great to hear from people, always great to get a message to say that there was something at the dam or there were animals calling. That's always a great help. Very good in you. It's good. Some good stuff. Hey Tusha, how are you, bud? Good. You too, cheers. especially between our drives, like between now and our 3 o'clock drive this afternoon, we've got a couple of hours that we do other things. We don't have access to the dam, so it's great to have a message to say that there were elephants there at say 2 o'clock or an hour ago or whatever. And so thank you, John Q, and thank you to all of you, all of our Zoomies. Big thank you from all of us for being a part of the team, for helping us with all of that info, keeping us updated. And of course also thanks to everybody for the feedback when it comes to identifying the cats, for all the information. Sharon in Austria, I owe you a few emails with all the info you've been sending me recently, and I'll get to that today, I hope. My name is Mark, with a C. Andrew's been on camera, that's Andrew with an A. And back in final control is Nikki with an N. From all of us here at WildEarth, thanks for joining us, thanks for the support, thanks for the excitement of an early morning drive, and a beautiful Nikki with a Nick. Thanks everybody, love you lots, and we'll see you later.